Do most successful people really achieve greatness just because they make dramatic changes? Or do those who struggle fail because they're waiting for the perfect moment to begin? Is transformation about grand gestures? Or is there a deeper truth most people miss? Hello everyone. Welcome to Universal Life Stories. Today's story reveals a habit that silently holds many of us back. You might not even realize it, but this habit could be your biggest obstacle. While listening to this story, we will also learn new English words and sentences that you can use in real life. So stay with us till the end. In a busy city lived a woman named Sarah. She was intelligent, ambitious, and had dreams as vast as the sky. Becoming a published author, starting her own business, traveling to places that existed only in her imagination. But Sarah had developed a habit that was quietly sabotaging her life. She constantly started new projects with tremendous enthusiasm, only to abandon them when the initial excitement faded. Her apartment was a graveyard of half-finished novels, incomplete online courses, and business plans that gathered dust like autumn leaves. Sarah believed that success required big, life-changing decisions. She would wake up Monday morning declaring this would be the week she finally wrote her novel, then spend hours researching the perfect writing software, organizing her desk, and planning elaborate schedules. By Wednesday, the momentum would vanish like morning mist, and she would convince herself that next month, when she had more time, when inspiration struck, when conditions were perfect, she would begin again. But even after countless fresh starts, real progress remained elusive. Sarah watched former classmates announce promotions, publish articles, launch businesses, while she remained trapped in cycles of enthusiasm and abandonment. The weight of her unrealized potential pressed against her chest like a stone, making it difficult to breathe whenever she passed the bookstore where she imagined her novel might someday sit on shelves. Feeling lost and frustrated, Sarah decided to visit her Aunt Elena, a woman whose quiet strength had always provided comfort during difficult times. Elena lived in a modest cottage where morning light streamed through windows adorned with plants that seemed to thrive under her gentle care. As they sat together drinking tea, Sarah poured out her frustrations about her inability to finish anything meaningful. Elena listened with the patience of still water, then said, "Sarah, perhaps the problem isn't your lack of ability, but your approach to change itself." She paused, setting down her cup with deliberate care. "Let me tell you about my neighbor, Marcus. Many years ago, Marcus had been like Sarah, full of dreams but unable to sustain effort long enough to see them realized. He wanted to become a master carpenter, but every time he started a project, he would abandon it when perfection proved elusive. His workshop was filled with half-built chairs, incomplete tables, and tools that accused him daily of his inconsistency. One winter morning, Marcus made a decision that seemed almost absurdly simple. Instead of planning another ambitious project, he committed to spending just 15 minutes each day touching wood, not necessarily building anything, just connecting with his craft. Some days he would sand a single board until it was smooth as silk. Other days he would study the grain patterns in different woods, learning to read their stories like ancient texts. Sometimes he would simply hold his tools, feeling their weight and balance, remembering why he had fallen in love with creating beautiful things from raw materials. For weeks, nothing dramatic happened. Marcus didn't build anything impressive or share photos of stunning creations on social media. But something profound was occurring beneath the surface. Those 15 minutes became sacred time, a daily conversation between his hands and his dreams. His relationship with carpentry shifted from desperate hunger to patient friendship. He stopped measuring progress by completed projects and began finding satisfaction in small improvements. The way his chisel moved more smoothly through wood, how his eyes could detect subtle flaws in joinery, the growing confidence in his hands as they learned the language of creation. Months passed, and Marcus noticed that his 15-minute sessions had naturally expanded. Some days he would find himself working for an hour, so absorbed in the meditation of making that time, seemed to dissolve. He completed his first chair, then a bookshelf, then a dining table that drew admiration from everyone who saw it. But more importantly, he had become a different person, someone who showed up consistently, who trusted in the accumulation of small efforts, who understood that mastery is not a destination but a practice. When people asked Marcus how he had transformed from a chronic starter into a master craftsman, he would smile and say, "I stopped trying to become someone different and started being myself a little bit better each day." Elena finished the story and looked directly into Sarah's eyes. The secret Marcus discovered is what the wise have always known, that sustainable change happens not through force but through gentle, consistent pressure, like water carving canyons. When we focus on small, daily practices rather than dramatic transformations, we bypass the resistance that sabotages our grandest plans. That conversation changed everything for Sarah, though the change itself was almost imperceptible at first. The next morning, instead of planning another elaborate writing schedule, she opened her laptop and committed to writing just one paragraph. Not a chapter, not a page, just one small block of words that moved her story forward. That first paragraph felt like planting a seed in fertile ground, small, humble, yet containing within it the DNA of something magnificent. Day after day, Sarah returned to this simple practice. Some mornings the paragraph flowed like honey, golden and sweet. Other days the words felt clumsy and forced, but she wrote them anyway, understanding now that consistency matters more than perfection. She stopped checking word counts or calculating how long it would take to finish her novel. Instead, she focused entirely on the single paragraph in front of her, treating each one as complete and valuable in itself. The Buddhist concept of mindfulness, which Elena had gently introduced during their conversations, began to make sense in practical terms. Sarah discovered that presence to the current moment. This sentence, this word, this keystroke, created a quality of attention that her previous scattered efforts had lacked. When her mind wandered to future chapters or past failures, she would gently return her focus to the paragraph at hand, like a meditation teacher guiding students back to their breath. 3 months into her practice, Sarah realized something extraordinary had happened. She had written 93 paragraphs, which had somehow become 3 complete chapters of a novel that felt more authentic than anything she had previously attempted. The story was emerging not from forced planning, but from the daily conversation between her imagination and the page. Characters had developed personalities she never could have outlined in advance. Plot threads had appeared as if by magic, connecting seemingly unrelated scenes into a coherent narrative. More importantly, Sarah had discovered the peace that comes from trusting the process rather than controlling outcomes. The anxiety that had plagued her previous creative attempts, the constant measuring of progress against impossible standards, had been replaced by something approaching serenity. She looked forward to her morning writing ritual the way others anticipate favorite meals or conversations with beloved friends. The practice began to influence other areas of her life. Sarah started applying the same principle to exercise, committing to just 10 minutes of movement each day rather than ambitious workout plans that inevitably failed. Some days, she danced to music in her living room. Other days, she walked around her neighborhood, noticing details that had been invisible during her previous rushed commutes. The 10 minutes often expanded naturally, but even when they didn't, Sarah felt the satisfaction of keeping a promise to herself. Her approach to learning changed too. Instead of enrolling in expensive courses she never completed, Sarah dedicated 20 minutes each evening to studying something that genuinely interested her: photography, Spanish, sustainable gardening. The key was choosing subjects that called to her heart rather than her ego, topics that felt like exploration rather than obligation. 6 months after her conversation with Elena, Sarah received news that would have seemed impossible during her years of false starts and abandoned projects. A literary agent, impressed by the first 3 chapters she had quietly polished and submitted, wanted to represent her novel. The agent explained that Sarah's writing possessed a quality of authenticity and emotional depth that stood out in a crowded market. As Sarah signed the contract in the agent's sun-filled office, she thought about Marcus the carpenter and his 15 minutes of daily devotion. She understood now that small habits are not lesser versions of dramatic changes, but something entirely different. They are expressions of faith, daily votes for the person we are becoming, quiet rebellions against the culture of instant gratification that surrounds us. The ancient wisdom keepers had always known what Sarah was now discovering, that the path to transformation is paved with ordinary moments made extraordinary through intention, that greatness emerges not from sporadic bursts of effort, but from the patient accumulation of small, consistent actions performed with love and attention. Her novel, when it was finally published 18 months later, carried dedication that few readers would fully understand. To Elena, who taught me that rivers carve canyons not through force, but through persistence, and to Marcus, whose 15 minutes of daily devotion showed me that the smallest seeds often yield the greatest harvests. Sarah's story spread quietly through the networks of people who recognized the profound truth it contained. She spoke at writing workshops and creative conferences, sharing not techniques for dramatic breakthrough, but the revolutionary power of showing up consistently for the work that calls to your soul. She taught others what Elena had taught her, that transformation is not about becoming someone different, but about creating conditions for your authentic self to emerge, one small choice at a time. Years later, when young writers would ask Sarah how she had found the discipline to complete her novel, she would smile and remember her aunt's words. The strongest foundation is built not with dramatic gestures, but with small stones placed with care, day after day, until suddenly you realize you've constructed something beautiful and enduring. The truth Sarah discovered is available to anyone willing to embrace it, that the most profound changes in human life come not from the moments that feel significant, but from the ordinary moments when we choose growth over comfort, presence over distraction, consistent action over perfect conditions. Small habits, practiced with devotion, become the architecture of extraordinary lives, proving that the quietest revolutions often create the most lasting transformations. Work quietly, trust the process, and when the time is right, your dedication will speak louder than any words ever could. If this story resonated with you, give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. What small habit will you commit to starting today? Your engagement helps these meaningful stories reach more people who need to hear them. Subscribe to Universal Life Stories for more inspiring tales that reveal the hidden wisdom in everyday moments. Until next time, stay patient, stay consistent, and remember that extraordinary lives are built one small choice at a time.